What's up, guys? Welcome back to the One Percenter Podcast. Today's episode is going to be amazing. It is with Colin Wayne. And before I go any further, I need you to go get a pad of paper, get a pen, because you're going to be taking notes in this episode, guys. Colin is a United States Army veteran. He served in Iraq, he served all over the world, and he almost died serving for our country. And he's going to tell that story, guys. He's also been on 50 plus fitness covers. He's an incredible fitness model and a fitness athlete, and he has mastered that game. And he's taken his success into the business world. He's the CEO of Redline Steel, and he has taken this company from zero all the way to a multi-million-dollar company, guys. He's been featured on Fox and Friends. He's been invited to the White House to be honored for his business efforts. And today you are going to learn how he has done and had success in every area of his life, guys. He's a loving father, a husband, and he's going to teach you how he's mastered all of this, guys, and how he's able to balance this. So please like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. And as always, we will see you guys next week.
So Colin, tell me your first taste of entrepreneurship. What made you get into the entrepreneurship landscape?
So my dad was an entrepreneur. Actually, I guess both parents were. My mom was a professional photographer, so she worked for herself for about 20 years. And then, digital cameras came out and everybody was a photographer at that point.
So true.
My dad, he right in 1998, 1999, when the internet was first getting started, he started an online business, and it was essentially drop shipping. He was working from his house and found suppliers that could sell copiers, fax machines, electronic copy boards, and then started to understand like domains. So he started to buy like xeroxfaxmachine.com. He started to learn SEO. And so like I was around that, but he wasn't like teaching me around it, if that makes sense. So like I wasn't like involved.
It totally makes sense, but you were absorbing it in your subconscious. You weren't learning, you weren't consciously learning it, but you were subconsciously learning it because you were around that. Damn, your dad might have been like the first ever drop shipper, without
no, for real though.
Right? Back in the day, drop shipping just became a word like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. He was doing
He's an OG.
Back in the 90s. Holy cow. Yeah. So you were around your dad who was an entrepreneur, your mom was an entrepreneur, but did you like get up one day and say, I want to become an entrepreneur, or is this something that just happened to you?
Yeah, so it kind of fell in my lap, but I always knew that I was driven for something more. Like I love marketing, I love sales, I love concept to reality. I'm one of those guys that thrive under pressure, and I think that makes a one percenter. Those that are trapped in a corner and can really come out swinging, and just like what's going on right now in today's current event with the coronavirus, we take that into account. What is businesses doing because you don't see that coming. You can't prepare for it necessarily. How are you going to respond to the events that take place? So I find myself almost self-sabotaging when things are going great. I end up doing something crazy.
I can't believe you just said that, because I always said that I'm very, very uncomfortable when I'm comfortable.
Same. Yep.
Whenever I have too much time on my hands is when I get in trouble, when I get into stuff I'm not supposed to. So I always say that white spaces on your calendar is a devil, right? Yeah. And so I make sure from the moment I get up to the moment I go to sleep, I'm doing something with my time, and I'm so glad that you said that. We're so much alike.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. And that's like, so, we have a lot of commonalities with the fitness modeling thing and the fitness. I mean, that is my passion, but it turned in.
Hey, let me stop you, man. I have not been on 50 covers. Matter of fact, I haven't been on one cover. I've been featured in the magazines and stuff like that. But, I don't have the looks like you have to be on 50 covers, man. So I have the body, but not the face cover. So I appreciate you saying, that, but man, you're way above me. 50 magazine covers, right?
Yeah. But so here's the thing though, and how it applies to entrepreneurship. So like for me, I was able to scale my personal brand to start adaptive learning into the entrepreneur side, or owning a business. So knowing that if a company can continue to pay me 10 grand, 20 grand, $30,000 a month per company, what am I really monetizing for them on the back end? And so I started to pick up on different market trends, started to deep dive into the paid ads probably about 5-6 years ago, and learning like the back end and the importance of data. And, you know, for me, I want sustainability and long-term with anything that I'm involved with. So, you know, 50 plus magazine covers, that was over a 3.5 year period. So, you know, you're landing 2 to 3 magazine covers every month across the world. It turned into, basically, I use the analogy, like I like to fish, but it's kind of like going to a stocked pond, and you know, every time you cast, you're going to land a bass and you're going to get a good 5-pound bass. It's not fun anymore. And for me as an entrepreneur, that's how I kind of learned, is that this should be a stepping stone into something else. And, you know, when you talk about looks, there's so much more that I can offer than just a good body and a nice face for a publication. But on the flip side, you know, what a lot of people don't know is that I did something against the grain. Gary Vee's got a book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. I see you got thousands of books behind you.
Love that book.
So he sent it to me. I never read it. I'm more of an audio guy. But I was applying those principles before the book was even released. So I was essentially reaching out to publications without a PR firm, without an agency, figuring out who are these decision makers, chief editors, photographers, establishing a rapport with them. And I never charged a publication once. So a lot of people think, man, he got rich off of publications. Mine was the opposite spectrum, that I would rather monetize on the back end with that credibility to say, okay, Nike, Under Armour, like, yes, I have millions of followers, but I have the credibility behind it to use this as a stepping stone to charge and monetize more, you know, and, you know, kind of being one of those innovators with the social aspect space of, you know, there wasn't a lot of people that had millions of followers back in 2011, 2012 on social media. So I was one of the first few people that was really, and, you know, I've slowed down tremendously because it's not as, I mean, it's important. And I think it's very, very critical, but on the pay, like your total amount of followers is irrelevant. They want you to pay to play at this point. And
most importantly, it's like the 300 movie, right? You'd rather have, you know, 2,000 diehard followers than have 2 million, you know, followers that just followers that never interact with you or never comment or anything like that. So I get with you, man. I wholeheartedly understand. You know,
so I'm sure you're familiar with 80-20 rule.
Oh, for sure, man.
The principles. Are you familiar with the 4% rule that apply with?
No, please teach me that.
Yeah, so it's awesome. So essentially, you know, for those who aren't familiar with the 80-20 rule, like 80% of or 20%, the 20%, if you take a test pool of all of your customers, 20% would offset 80% of your revenue. Now, you could break that down into another tier. So say that 20%, put it in its own group, and say that is a group of 100 people. If you were to take 20% of those 100 people, that actually equates to another top tier. That 20% is now, those are your top spenders within that realm. And so if you, after all the addition, I'm not saying it very great, but it ends up being 4% of your revenue.
20% of 20% is the 4%.
Correct.
It makes total sense. You know, and I guarantee you, you know, if you take the 20% of the 4%, you know, then you get the 0.08%. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's it totally makes sense. You know, and I think every business needs to identify, you know, its top customers. You know, look, if we both go to Vegas, and you're the guy who, you know, goes in there and gambles big and spends big and eats at the nice restaurants, and I'm the guy who goes and, you know, plays the penny slots. Guess what? You're not going to get the same marketing as I'm going to get. You know, they're going to market to you differently than I would market to you. And I think every business needs to understand, you know, each customer, what are their spending habits, you know, if they're, you know, and how their spending habits and how to interact with you.
Yep. I 100% agree. So
I think we have the same watch almost.
We do. We have a Hublot. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's the same thing. It's the exact same. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I'm like, wait a second. I haven't seen anyone else that have that same watch as me. You know, I mean, I've seen it online and stuff. That's crazy. You have good taste, brother.
It's small world. Yeah. Likewise, dude. Yeah. So we do that same thing with my company, Redline Steel. So, you know, we have our traditional customers that come in. Typically, we'll offer them like a a low cost attribution model, so a break-even strategy, and then OTOs, which is one-time offers as a bump post-sale. So after they purchased, basically buy this curse of faith, get the hope and love to complete the set. And then we'll show a similar concept of like a mannequin approach where, if you walk into Buckle or Nordstrom's and you see a mannequin, you want everything on that entire rack. People are kinesthetic. They want to visually see exactly what it could look like and how I can apply this into my own life or in my own house. And so we do the same thing. Like, we want to show the lifestyle imagery. We also want to humanize it. We want trust and security. But that's how, we have almost 1 million customers within 3 years, is by, similar prospecting. But now that we have so much data, we're breaking that down into that same 80-20 and 4% rule. So now we have a Redline VIP group, which is about 38,000 people of our top loyal customers. And then we have a new rewards program that we launched February 26th. And it has over 200 members in it. So they had to spend $250 or more since February 26th and 5 or more orders. And that's only been 3 weeks. So now we're identifying who are our main people that are driving as much revenue as possible and predictive. And we're also segmenting it where we are incentivizing other people to get to that tier based. So we're giving them over $170 worth of product for free. All they have to do, so they're going to get a free shirt. They're going to get a 2-foot sign that's steel, canvas, and wood, all 3 combined. And then they're getting the certificate of like appreciation and achievement just for entering the group, something that they can hold and actually show off. And then we have custom packaging that will be similar, like ClickFunnels. Like, you see this big plaque behind me. They're very good at branding and the marketing side. Yeah. And now people are walking billboards. They have it hanging in their office. They're using it for ads, and it's natively driving more and more traffic and awareness for their brand. It's the same thing that's going to take place with my company, with the overall experience when a customer, which my avatar is primarily women, 35, 65 plus. And so I want to target and do specific things that I know that avatar would like. And so sending them a package that they get for free just by spending amount of money and the amount of orders is a great incentive. And it also offsets for me the predictive analysis of knowing this customer will be at this point. And, when they hit order 3 and $100 or more, I start segmenting email flows to them. Same with paid ads. So knowing the customer journeyed experience and then incentivizing them and saying, hey, you're only 2 orders away from receiving all of this free stuff. What are you waiting for? Click that link, and so just overall, like, it's very, very segmented to your exact thing. But that gets very, very advanced. But that is how you can apply that 80-20 rule down into that 4% and make that 4% even larger, is by incentivizing them to do specific bullet point things.
So from what I'm hearing you say is that, segmenting your list, understanding, understanding data and being obsessed about data is how you can be able to scale your business and be able to give the customers what they want and ultimately increase your revenue. Because so many businesses don't do that. They just
you got to.
They just take a shotgun approach. I'm going to send the same email to everybody. I'm going to market the same to everybody. And until you understand, every person's behavior, every person's spending habits, your customers, every person's customer psychology, it's going to be hard for you to be able to scale that business because you're just wasting money and you just, throwing everything on the wall to see if anything will stick.
Yep. That's right, man. And, it's, and there's a lot of segmentation plays that so this is the difference, guys. For those of you who are unfamiliar, segmented is something that constantly evolves. So it's constantly adaptive and moving. A list is something that you would upload once and it's done. And so a segment is constantly evolving. So a customer comes in the door and they bought a Christian faith-based product. I know I can set up a segmented flow for an upsell based on behavior of what they purchased, what they spent, send them to a specific list, and then do a 3 to 5 step email series. And then even take it a step further, have flow filters that if the email bounces, take them out of the flow. add them to specific lists to make sure that you're in compliance. You don't want to get, you want your open rates to be as high as possible. But then you can do that across the board for all of these specific categories based on what they spent and then based on what they purchased. And that's a simple way to know this is customers' first journeyed experience with us. This is the first touch point after they've received their order. So I know to set it at day 9 because it's going to take 2 to 5 days to ship and process. Should be another 2 to 4 days in transit. So no later than day 9, they should receive it. They should have a touch point within the first 48 hours of receiving it. And then, that journey starts. And if they purchase on email 1, they won't receive email 2 and on and on. And the same flow would consist across the board to other native and paid traffic platforms. So
wow, I love that, man. For those of you guys who are listening and are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur or starting an online business, what he just told you guys, what Colin just dropped knowledge bombs is this is something that people pay thousands of dollars to learn. I know
it's fun.
I know and I know
fun, man.
Yeah, I mean this stuff is crazy. I wish I knew that when I first started into the business, because I was the guy who was taking the shotgun approach. I wasn't that, but later on, when I got mentorships, and I found out more about how to market to people differently and how to segment my list. And that was huge what you said. Segmenting your list is not, having a list. It's not having it's totally different. It's like downloading a list one time. Segmentation is totally different because it evolves all the time. You're basically, it's kind of like Amazon. When you go buy, Amazon, then, when you go back to Amazon, they know your buying habits. They know what to recommend for you. They're not going to recommend anything that you haven't already done. So how did you get into the entrepreneurship? Tell me about your business. Tell me more about Redline Steel.
So Redline Steel, it started off as I was just going to purchase a piece for my son. And then it turned into consulting. And then consulting turned into I wanted to be an investor. Now, this was a pre-existing business. It was 4 years old at that point. And, it was still in infancy stages. But I saw a lot of market opportunity. The more that I was deep diving into the consulting space with him, building out a business plan that I thought was scalable, I started to look at competitor analysis. And I noticed on a paid ad placement, there was zero cost per clicks, any type of native or paid keyword searches for this. And the volume that people were looking for was great. It was a complete blue ocean market opportunity for me. Now, I knew nothing about manufacturing. I didn't know anything about CNC world. Didn't know anything about supply chain. All of this stuff has just been something I've had to learn as I've kind of grown as a business. And I call it the crawl, walk, run phase. I knew enough on the back end of marketing to feel confident in my abilities to approach him about being an investor. So this was my take. I'm a firm believer I put my money where my mouth is, and it has to be worth my time. Time is more valuable than money.
Yeah.
And it's a massive commodity. So I said, I want 51% of your company because I'm not going to get in a stale lock with someone. And before you judge me, this is the criteria I put on myself. So I said, I'll do 6 times revenue of what you did last physical year within 12 months of our start date. I will finance the growth to ensure that there's 600% growth year over year, 6 times. And I'll own the assets and amortize it through another corporation that I own. I will not draw a salary or distribution for 12 months, no matter what the growth is. If I do not do all 3 of these things, I'll give you back your company 100% on a 12-month term. Yeah.
Wow. I have never heard that. You really put your money where your mouth was.
Yeah. I believed it, man. Something instinctively, like I knew because, being a father, I wanted to buy something for my son. And this isn't somewhere that you can just go and buy something. You can't go to Hobby Lobby and get a custom. My son's name is Carson, and it's spelled with a Y. Like you got to have it custom made. And so I just saw a massive market opportunity. And I knew for me, if I was willing to pay a premium, there's so many other people across the nation that would also love this as well. So I just saw a massive need and demand.
All right. So, you overpromised, and I assume you overdeliver. So tell me what happened that year. Tell me some of the challenges you had. Were you at any time, say, fuck, man, maybe I put my foot in my mouth 6 times the growth is ridiculous.
So
I
it
would
didn't
love to hear
happen.
that.
The day you were supposed to sign, he backed out.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, so he accepted the offer. I went through my attorney's office, and about 30 days later, had everything ready for the partnership agreement. It was about 3 weeks. And the day he was supposed to sign, he wanted to renegotiate. And I don't do that.
Oh, I hate that shit. I hate it. When you already agreed on something, you already had the lawyers involved, everything's drafted. Now you're having cold feet. It's like, it's like you're getting married and the day before, you want to negotiate, or talk about it. There's nothing to talk about.
One in a partnership, it's essentially a marriage, and trust is everything, and communication is everything. So you wait till the last minute, and then you want to change your word. I already felt like, I'll be honest, like I felt like it was his company at that point, but I already felt like I was being I already knew what I could take this to. And I'm like, man, I'm giving up more than what I really want to, but you've already got an established baseline. You know how to manufacture. He's already got kind of it was a smaller warehouse. And he had everything in order to a degree, and we were just going to scale off of that. But the day, he was supposed to be there, he didn't sign. He wanted to just renegotiate everything, and I don't do that. And so I told him, look, this is what it is. And if you're not here within the next hour, then I'll be your competitor. Yeah. And the next day I went and bought my first piece of equipment, a CNC plasma. So that was my first challenge. I had nowhere to put it.
Wait a second. So the deal didn't go through?
The deal didn't go through.
Oh shit. I thought you were going to say that, okay, that was the business that you scaled.
No,
oh,
I didn't.
My God.
So now it takes it to another caliber of, I got to figure out how to make this shit. Like, I don't know how to even turn the thing on. So get this, bro. Like, I buy this plasma table, and I got lucky. I had 4 weeks to figure out, okay, I bought this piece of equipment. They're going to build it for me. And I've got 4 weeks to figure out where I'm going to put it, because I can't put it in the garage next to the Ferrari. It needs power requirements. And
you got a Ferrari too? Me too, man. You got the same. What kind of Ferrari you got?
It's a 488 Spider.
488? I got the 488 coupe.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
I don't know, man. I had a Spider before.
Okay.
And in California, where I live is either hot or cold. Mm-hmm. Like, it's no in between. During the day is hot and the night gets cold. So I'm like, man, we never put on. So we have the same car. You have the same car, same watch. What the?
Same watch. Yeah. Do you have a Wraith too?
No, I have a Ghost. No. You have a Wraith?
Okay. Yeah.
Because I have 3 kids. I'm sure you don't have 3 kids.
Well, so I've got 3 kids. I've got 2 daughters and a son.
Me too. I have 2 daughters and a son. This is
wild.
This is getting great. Yeah. My wife wanted to Wraith, but I'm like, we can't.
Oh, what does your wife drive?
Huh?
If your wife drives Bentayga, then I'm about to freak out.
No, she drives the Range Rover autobiography.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay, cool.
That's what I said. So, very similar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, she wanted the Wraith, but it's crazy, man. With the kids and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna.
You're Cullinan, man. That's what I want.
So we're going to real quick. Before I forget. So Huntsville, Alabama. You have a Rari, a Wraith, and a. What the hell? Like in LA, that's somewhat normal.
Yeah.
In Alabama, don't you get scared?
No, not at all. I mean, it's I'm born and raised here, so I know everybody. Huntsville is actually a very, very, it's a pretty damn big city. It's the fastest growing county in the state. We've got over 15,000 jobs that are coming here, including Facebook data center. They have a $750 million facility that they're making right here in our backyard. We've got Mazda, Toyota that they're bringing in over 7,000 jobs for. FBI is relocating their headquarters to Huntsville. And so for perspective, guys, I'm not in the middle of like cornfields and cotton fields.
When I say Alabama, man, that's what,
Yeah,
the
that's common. So
the only other person that I know, is Deontay Wilder from Tuscaloosa.
yeah.
But anyway, man. So sorry, I didn't mean to bother you, man. So I didn't mean to stop you. So you want to learn all the machinery.
Yes.
You want to learn all, everything to do, and how long that take you to be able to, learn the machinery and all that kind of stuff.
So it's interesting. I did not tell that guy. I had actually acquired a purchase order. So this was my fail-safe. I always go into things and I've got to double down to ensure that I've got a secured liability in place. So I acquired a purchase order through a massive military memorabilia company that helped self-fund the startup of Redline. And so as one file, was one DXF, it was an AR-15 33-inch replica. And it took about 5 months to fulfill the order. But I acquired it by using one of his competitors while we were still in negotiations, because I knew if this doesn't work, I don't want to use this. I want to use this as leverage to essentially, if this falls through, I've already got this in place. And if it does go through, then at least I'm starting out with a $45,000, $50,000 PO that I can say, okay, we start today. And so I didn't know this company. I called them, got in touch with the CEO, and they're massive, right? They did like 140 million last year, Grunt Style, the apparel company. So ended up becoming friends with Dan Alric, who's the owner, and we hit it off. And I've flown out to his facility several times, established a great relationship with them, and we've done a lot of things over the years collaboratively together. So it fostered into a good relationship. But it took me about, to answer your question, it took me about 5 months. When they delivered the piece of equipment, the plasma, I didn't know that you needed an air compressor to run it. I just thought you plugged it in and it just needed electric. Like I've
done stuff like that. I know.
Yeah, I had no clue, and then they gave me the paperwork and stuff, but I told you, I don't really read much stuff. And so I didn't think about it, man. It's those little bitty things that's like, well, shit, man, I got to go get an air compressor now. So, and it wasn't just the money. It was like, okay, now I got to go get this specific GEMA electric outlet thing. And I got to have this electrician come in. I got to have it grounded. I've got to have all of these random things that you don't think about as a typical internet marketer. You're just thinking about, how much volume can I sell? What's the right market play? What's the right copy? What's the right creative? And that's the fun side, but it's taken to this point to build it sustainable enough where I'm completely out of that type of micro and focused on the growth of the business. And I've got some great leadership in place, some great employees. So.
Oh man, yeah, you're killing it. So that guy who refused, your business, your offer, did you ever have any other words with him after you already started your company and all that? I wonder what went through his head, and like, man, because what a lot of people don't understand is a lot of people are trying to just get the biggest slice of a small pie. And they don't understand it's better to have a small piece of a big pie than a big piece of a small pie. So, I've learned that early on in my business career. So I'm curious to see how that conversation went afterwards, and if you still have a relationship with him, or even that's the company still around.
It's still around. He's still doing his thing. He's approached us several times. So here's the thing, we don't offer custom requests. We don't do logos. We don't do signs. I look at it as mass market opportunity on mass production.
Got it.
So there's mom and pop shops that you can go to and get your company logo sign done. And you want something for your garage that's super, super custom. We're not that guy. I'll sell 100,000 units of this exact same piece, but it's not worth my time to do 10 signs or one single off. Even if the margin's 5,000%, it doesn't matter. I don't have time to do it, or the resources and everything else. So, yeah. So he's approached me about, several times about about partnering again on that side and just diverting all of our custom requests over to him. And, it's something that we're looking at separate divisions or acquisitions in the future for that, because we turn down millions of dollars in custom requests on an annual basis. So it would be a good asset for our portfolio, and we're paying for the leads to come in anyways. And that's the hardest thing. You have a hot lead, you have to act on it, and you have so much time to do it. We are collecting the data because data is king. So we have opt-in forms. We notify them, hey, we're currently not doing that. If we do in the future, we'll reach out.
So
And at this point, it's all data collection.
Customers that are waiting for that,
Correct.
So it will be a natural progression. Maybe you can use them as an affiliate, send them and get a percentage and not have to, worry about all that. There's so many different opportunities, so I'm looking at it now from a 30,000 foot view. You were going to go with this guy and partner up with him, have 51% of a company who you could, increase the revenue 6 times and make some money. But if things didn't work out, most of the time when things don't work out, we'll get devastated. Be like, God, I mean, not devastated, but you're disappointed. You're disappointed because you had your heart set on the thing. You had the lawyers drop the agreement and all that. Things didn't work out. But you're like, F it, I'm going to go a different direction. And you went a different direction and you blew it the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, you blew it the fuck up. Now, when you look back at it, because there's so many times this has happened in my life, when you look back at it, like, man, I'm glad that didn't work out. Because even at 6 times the revenue, at 6 times the revenue, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now. Even at 6 times the revenue, I wouldn't be making the money that I'm making right now. Do you see, did that happen? Do you agree with that statement?
Oh, absolutely, man. It's opened my eyes to future relationships because I know the power of what I can bring to the table. And so this is my tip for any entrepreneur that is deeply rooted within the micro of their business. Don't spread yourself thin. Like, keep as long as you are 100% within the micro of this, unless you want to be an investor and it doesn't require much of your time and you can kind of just point people in the right direction. Look at your balance sheets, P&Ls, and kind of have quarterly meetings. That's completely different. Some things that I've learned over the years is to not spread myself thin because it diverts my attention off of what could be something so much bigger. And so, until I'm completely out and I've got somebody else running the business on a day-to-day, I don't think there's a problem with diversification, but it comes back to your time. How much time is this going to allocate if I'm spread between 5, 6, 7, 8 different companies to make sure that I'm attributing what's needed and communicated from the beginning of that relationship?
Colin, you say something that I keep talking about all the time. My favorite subject, time and time management, and not only ROI, but ROT, return on time. I mean, this is something that I talk about, now as far as your time management and what you do and all that kind of stuff, you seem like you're huge on that, so am I. When in your life did you become so militant with time and understanding the value of time? For me, it's always been that, I know you had a military background. Maybe you learned it there, punctuality and being on time and, and getting things done when you're supposed to get things done. For me, it was me going to college, taking, full-time college, full-time working, getting ready for bodybuilding shows, and all that kind of stuff that, made me. And then the time when I started having kids, just like you, I always tell people, I go, look, I really concentrate on 3 things in life. Those are number one priority other than God and serving humanity is, spending time with the family, provide for the family, and stay healthy so I can do 1 and 2, And so I always say, if you're going to take any time from my family, then you got to provide for my family. You know what I mean? And it needs to make sense. When did you become aware of the importance of time and be so militant and understanding return on time?
So I think the consciousness of time management has been more over the past 2 or 3 years, being that hyper scaling a company, year over year, massive growth. Like, this is our first year to be eligible for Inc. And, we'll be double digits. So, I mean, it'll be really cool to kind of go and see where we stack up against other manufacturers, where we're at in Alabama for privately owned businesses. But I think from a time management, like I don't handle it well from a balance of family and work. And so I look at it. So it's something that I consciously know, but subconsciously it's very challenging for me to break away from it. And I think the challenge is I love what I do. And I love that, I'll come in on a Saturday when nobody's here, have no clue what I need to get done. I don't have priorities, but I want to be here. And so it's hard to have that work-life balance. And it's very, very challenging, even now where I don't technically have to be here, 12 hours a day, but I want to be here. And so it's hard for me.
You love what you're doing. You enjoy what you're doing. So it's not work. It's something that you love to do. It's like your hobby, your passion is paying, is paying for that. Do you now, knowing that, because I was the same way, knowing that, do you get complaints, so do sometimes your kids complain a little bit, or your significant other complain a little bit of like, hey man, God, man, we need some time. I need some time. You're never home. You're always working. Do you get that?
Absolutely. I mean, honest to God, my wife is the best supporter in the world. Like she has never once complained. I get up at 4 every morning and I try to be at work before any of my employees. So first shift starts at 5. And I want to be the first one to leave. And then, they end up leaving around 3 or 4. Second shift comes in. And, I'm here till 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And that's very, very consistent patterns. And while my family's sleeping, if it ends up being 9 o'clock, never once has my wife complained about my I guess, work ethic and the being away from it. She knows what we're building and she believes in what we're doing. I think it also helps that she can personally see it from the success that it's brought, going to the White House. We got a commendation award from the governor a few months ago. I brought her with me, trying to keep her active within what we're doing. If there's like a big event that I'm hosting, I want her to be involved. So I think she believes in it, but having that support system is incredible. And it's almost, it could be taken advantage of easily because there's never kickback. And so I personally want to try to challenge myself to spend more time. Now my daughter's she's about to be 1, Brinley, and then Breland is 3. And then my son, who I had with my ex-wife, is 9. So it's it's challenging, but, I only see my son every other weekend. And I try to take off for that. But with my daughters, they're not really speaking much right now. So there's not too much negative kickback. And my wife's so supportive. So,
wow, we're a lot like, except mine is flipped. I had my first 2 girls from a previous marriage, and my little son is 8 months old, and okay. This marriage. Now, okay, because I have to ask, because I think we went through the same path. So you said your son is 9, right? 9 years ago, you weren't where you are right now.
No.
Okay. When did you and your ex-wife separate?
I don't know what year it was. He was probably about 1. I was still in the military.
Okay. So does your ex-wife now like, man, fuck, I made a mistake. Like we made a mistake. I should have stood by his side. This guy is like crushing it, killing it, and I don't know. Did that ever come up? Because it does for us.
It does, man. I mean, she's remarried. I like her husband. He's a good father figure for my son. He's very active with him. I'm fortunate that she was able to find somebody that's good around my son. I was very concerned on that side.
Yeah, so. She hasn't found anybody.
Yeah. So I was very concerned at first about that, but the more that I've kind of opened my eyes and heart to what's going on, it's been a good, pretty cordial relationship. We're going through child support stuff where she's always trying to go back and get money. I think that's very common. But it's one of those things, man. You just, it's not my son's fault, and I want a good working relation. I want a good working, cordial relationship where there's no issues for my son's sake. So I try to keep everything, minimal, but enough where it's cordial.
Yeah. Oh wow, man, that's great to know. That's great to know because I'm going through a thing that she's just trying to make my life miserable, to be honest. Because I got remarried, and when we separated, I had nothing. And now I'm doing pretty well. So now I know you're going to host your first ever live event. Tell me a little about your live event, who's designed for, and why you go into that space now. Why are you, I know you're doing a lot of consulting, and all that kind of stuff, but why go into a live events, space, and what are you trying to accomplish with it?
So that's a good question. So I'm really excited about it because I love helping others. I love marketing, but as long as for this particular event, it's going to be a little bit more advanced. It's going to be what we kind of talked about at the beginning. If you've already done, if you're above a certain threshold, which my cap is like $250,000 gross revenue and own an e-commerce business, you're eligible to apply. It doesn't mean that I'm interested in necessarily working with you. And I don't want people to think that, that I don't want to help, because that's not the case at all. What I want is when I host an event, people can walk away and say, holy shit, this is life-changing. And I want it to be where you put my name behind it. That's everything that you have. I want it to be a walking billboard where they can say, thank God for Colin. I'll turn down more money, more people, because I want to, and I'll tell them, these are the steps that you need to take. When you hit that, come back and see me. I want you to read this book. I want you to be above this milestone. I want you to start, your spending habits need to be above this. I want you to start looking at adaptive advertisement platforms so that you're diversified across different media streams.
There's nothing wrong with that. You want to make sure it's the right fit for what you're going to teach and what you're going to offer. Because if you just took anybody's money, then that actually will be, it's not good if you're just like, okay, well, I don't care. You did $5,000 last year, but it's the right fit for you because it's not the right information. And
that's right.
A lot of people will appreciate that you're ethical about it and you let people know.
Yeah. So it's it'll be June 4th through the 6th in Huntsville, Alabama. It's actually gonna be at my house. So I've got about 9,000 square feet and at my house. So it's gonna be really cool. We're gonna have like personal chefs and it's going to be a really cool experience. I'm flying in a few people that's going to speak.
Our square foot is about the same too.
Yeah, insane. Yeah, I'll text you a photo of it when you get home. It's crazy.
Well, I'm sure you get a lot more yard where you are than we do here in California. We don't get much of a landscape. You get a nice house or whatnot, but you don't get the landscape and all that. So
it's so much more expensive.
I'm going to be envious.
It's a night and day difference. I lived out in California for a little while. Out in North Hollywood. Wasn't a big fan. If I could go back, it'd probably be towards like Huntington Beach, Irvine area.
That's what a
little bit outside of the city.
I live closer to that. Yeah, I can't live in LA, so I live in an area called Chino Hills, where it's suburbs. I can go to LA. I can get right in the middle of LA and San Diego. It's quiet. I can't deal with craziness, especially when we have kids now. I don't want to be doing that. So, Colin, I appreciate you being on the show. For people who haven't heard from you or don't know about you, where can they find more information and find out about your upcoming event as well?
Yeah, thank you, man. Well, dude, it's an honor to be on your show. It's cool that we were finally able to connect. We've tried to set this up for probably a month or two now, so it's awesome to finally deep dive into it. We're so busy with everything going on that there's so much commonalities. I definitely look forward to a good relationship with you. Guys, you can connect with me across social media at Colin Wayne 1 on Instagram and Twitter, all verified accounts. There's a bunch of fake ones, but Colin Wayne 1, and then Colin Wayne on Facebook, both my personal page I'm very active on and my fan page, both verified. And then, the name of the mastermind is the Foundry Mastery. So, and then Redline, if you're interested in what we do, because I know we kind of briefly talked about it and the products that we make, redlinesteel.com is my website for that. And you can see some of the awesome products that we make. Some pieces take over 3.5 hours to make. So much quality goes into it. So yeah, definitely appreciate your time, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks for being on the show, man. Looking forward to connecting with you, brother.
Absolutely. You too, man.
Hey guys, if you liked today's episode,
do me a huge favor. Go ahead and leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, leave me a review, and tag a few friends that you think can benefit from what we shared today. Really appreciate it. God bless.